Okay, everybody. So we've now looked at how exponential models apply to savings accounts, which is great. We're going to take this even further when you do your second project, and we look at what happens when instead of just dumping one lump sum into an account and forgetting about it, you actually repeatedly invest into that account. We'll also learn some cool Excel tricks then. But what I want to do now is see how the same exponential model can explain other things besides just savings account math. So for example, take a look at this meme right here, which is based on the Back to the Future trilogy. But go ahead and read it for a sec. Okay, so for those of you who have never seen the Back to the Future movies, you don't need to see them to get the point of this meme. The meme was created by a group called Jobs with Justice, and one of their main goals is to get the federal minimum wage increased. Now, we're talking about the federal minimum wage here, not states' minimum wages. They're different depending on what state you're in. And I think the idea being of cost of living adjustments, and we'll get into that later in the course too. But this is the federal minimum wage, the hourly wage below which you may not be paid legally. So the claim, and the October 21st, 2015 is actually a reference to a part of the movie Back to the Future. But the big idea is, Doc, in 2015, the paycheck of someone making minimum wage will be worth less than it was in 1985, which is when the first movie took place. So 30 years have passed. Marty's claim is that somebody making minimum wage in 2015, their minimum wage is worth less than in 1985. So what I want to do right now is we're going to actually take a little pause here, and we're going to go and we're going to look at a website I tracked down for us. I saved us a little bit of time here. I was trying to find the historical minimum wage rates, federal minimum wage rates, and I stumbled upon this in the Department of Labor site, which I'm guessing and hoping is a fairly fair record of minimum wage. And I learned some stuff. There's a lot of kind of political talk in here. There's quite a bit of lobbying language that I'm going to ignore most of and focus only on the basic idea of minimum wage and where it came from. As it turns out, it looks like it started in 1938. That was when we first introduced a federal minimum wage of 25 cents. Okay, so 1938, 25 cents. And 1 year later, it jumped up to 30 cents. And some of you might be thinking, oh, well, that's really cute, 25 cents to 30 cents. And if you think about it as a percentage jump, that's actually a huge jump. You have to think of it a couple different ways. First of all is cost of living almost 100 years ago versus today, which we're going to look at. That's the whole point of today. But also just the jump from 38 to 39 as a percent. If you go from 25 to 30%, you increase this by 20% to jump to this. You add 5 cents, and 5 cents is 20% of 25 cents. So I want you to think, imagine taking your salary right now and increasing it by 20%. You'd probably be pretty stoked. You'd probably be pretty stoked, and I think anybody would. And then you have 39 to 45, which looks like you might think to yourself, holy hell, that's an even bigger jump. But then you have to realize it happened over 6 years. So now you're starting to see the interplay of 1938, 1939, 1945. This is all World War II right here. And then you got post-World War II, 75 cents. And I'm not exactly sure who was in office during these times. I'm not even that worried about it. There's some changes. There's a 1961 amendment, and I didn't track that down. I'm just following this column right here. Jumps to 140 and 67. I was born in 1973. It looks like it was $1.60 then. And then the next year, when I was just getting close to being 1 year old, it jumped to $2 an hour. Keep going. My sister was born here later this year, about $2.30 an hour that year. Let's see. I graduated from high school in 91. It was $4.25 then. Okay. Somewhere in here was my first job. I know my first job was in 1989, pumping gas at the local gas station. So I'm guessing I was making $3.35 an hour at that point. And that actually, let's keep note of that one. That is going to be actually the one from the meme. Remember, the meme said 1985 minimum wage versus 2015 minimum wage. So We need to know this one. $3.35 is what minimum wage was in 1985. Okay, good. Put that in the back burner. Let's see what it was in 2015. So let's keep moving forward. Coming up again, coming up again, coming up again. Okay, so I think it has to be 7. The last time it changed was in 2009, and it's been 7.25 ever since. So the two numbers we need to kind of keep track of are this one. It was 3.35 in 1985, and now it's 7.25. Now, currently, federal minimum wage is still 7.25. It has been since 2009, so over a decade now. That's kind of interesting, too. Has the minimum wage ever sat stagnant for over a decade? Even since its inception? Let's just take a quick peek. I'm just curious now. I'm poking around. That's a year, 6 years, 5 years, 6 years, 5 years, 2 years, 1 year. I don't think it ever has just sat there for a decade before change. Interesting. So this probably, yeah, it sat 9 years here. That's close to a decade, but definitely I think the period of time we're in right now, there's a decade. There's a decade there from 97 through 2007, but it looks like this has been the longest period of time it's sat unchanged since it was conceived back in 1938, which is interesting. Okay. So now the question is, why does it change? Why does it change? I want you to think about that before watching the next video.